Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for waiting until the very end of the day. As they say, we save the best till last, and I feel that this is an exception to that. This is quite different to the other talks you guys have been hearing today, in a way that it will, it's a way to actually inspire students. And I think hearing about the great things that CARA does, and then hearing a testimony from a fellow scientist who's benefited from this organisation, it will serve as an example for those who feel daunted about the prospects when they graduate. So over to Florida to explain the rest.
So actually, I'm going to need mostly explaining for the people from CARA too, because I know this. I'm just going to introduce Celia Bell, who is going to introduce our speakers up. So Celia.
Well, we're delighted to have two speakers from CARA today. We also have Professor Kevin MacDonald here, who's our CARA, Middlesex CARA person? Representative.
Yeah, representative.
Who, and I gather that we also have a CARA fellow within the university in the marketing area. So Middlesex is already involved with CARA. So it's going to be really exciting to hear about CARA today. Unfortunately, Stephen Wordsworth, who's the executive director of CARA, couldn't be here today because of a family issue, but we're delighted to have Ryan Mundy, the UK Programme and Development Manager for CARA. And he'll be looking at giving an outline of CARA's work over the last 80 years. I think you have just had your 80th anniversary.
82 on May the 20th this year.
82 on May the 20th. So that's it's got great longevity, and may it continue for many years into the future. And we will follow that with a talk from Dr. Amin Mohammed, who is one of the CARA Fellows, who's working as an associate professor at the College of Pharmacy at Damascus University before he was forced to flee to Lebanon to escape the ongoing violence there. And CARA facilitated a postdoctoral position at the University of Bath for 2 years, and I've just been hearing some of the exciting work that Mohammed's been doing on in pharmacy and formulations. So that will be very exciting to hear about that as well. So without further ado, Ryan will be telling us all about CARA.
Thank you. It's really pleasing to see so many here today that are interested in our work. What I'd like to do is really start off by talking a little bit about what CARA's objectives are before moving on to our origins, and telling you a little bit more about the programs that we're running today. What CARA does. Our objectives are clearly stated here. They've recently been amended. The last time they were amended was in 1956, particularly with the inclusion of this second section, which will become clearer to you as I talk about the other programs that we've run. And it was really the inclusion of not only helping persecuted academics, but also looking at the institutions as well, and allowing academics within those institutions to be able to continue their work. Many have come to us for all sorts of reasons. They stood up for academic freedom and human rights by resisting government abuses or speaking out against extremism. They've including attempts to restrict free thought and also the rights of women. In return, they were intimidated, arrested, beaten, and threatened with death. Others were also caught up in conflict, seeing their universities attacked and their colleagues either kidnapped, assassinated, or tortured, and feared that they and their families would be next. Others also faced persecution and violence because of their ethnicity, religion, and or sexual orientation. Now, I think it's really important, in order to understand why CARA is here today and how similar the objectives are ongoing today, is to know a little bit about our origins. It really started as we established in 1933 as a result of a chance meeting of William Beveridge and a physicist in a Vienna hotel. Beveridge had read in the previous day that fellow academics in Germany were being asked to leave their posts. It was then that he returned to the UK and galvanised other academics, some of them were the leading lights at the time, essentially to sign a founding statement of what was CARA's name and forbade the Academic Assistance Council. It was signed, like I said, by many of the most prominent academics of the time, and it initially had two aims: to establish funds to provide effective help to those being forced to leave their posts in Germany, but also to create a centre of information, to put those concerned in touch with institutions that could best help them. But already they were thinking more widely. They recognised that the problem was not confined to Germany, that the rise of fascism across Europe would mean that academics would be fleeing from other countries. Therefore, they changed their aim to something more explicit, to help academics of whatever country who, on grounds of religion, political race, or opinion, are unable to carry on their work in their home country. The emphasis was not also on rescuing individuals, but also a much broader one: the relief of suffering and the defence of science and learning. It was later in 1933 that CARA is proud to say that we had our first public outing at which Albert Einstein spoke to thousands. He gave an impassioned speech calling on the attendees to defend the liberty of the individual, which has brought us every advance of knowledge and invention, and that liberty without life to a self-respecting man is not worth living. He then went on to encourage his audience to resist the powers which threaten to suppress intellectual and individual freedom, and explained that without such freedom there would be no Shakespeare, no Goethe, no Newton, no Faraday, no Pasteur, and no Lister. As you can see, we actually used Einstein's image of quite a lot of our publicity. I think he's a real champion. It was only in 1936 that we changed our name to become the Society for the Protection of Science and Learning. It became clear that the AAC, which was initially established as a sort of a small short-term emergency, it became very clear that the ongoing war meant that many academics were going to be knocking on our door. And as the situation in Germany worsened, by 1938, 1/3 of the teaching staff at the German universities had already been dismissed. Following the outbreak of war in 1939, and as fascism spread, we were receiving academics from Spain, Italy, Austria, Portugal, Czechoslovakia, and many others. It was by the end of the war, the SPSL had over 2,500 academics that we had supported. I think even at this point, there was still a common belief with those involved with the SPSL that the end and the defeat of Hitler would mean that we would no longer be needed. However, it soon became clear that new tyrannies were arising. Intellectuals from many of them articulate supporters of human rights and outspoken critics of abuses were among the first targeted by the new communist states of Eastern Europe, who wanted essentially to destroy the elite who might challenge them and their power. So the SPSL continued to help desperate academics fleeing from persecution. Later, the focus broadened to cover the apartheid in South Africa. That's an image of Albie Sachs, who is probably our only grantee that has been supported twice, in 1966 and 1989. Second time he had suffered a horrendous attack by the secret services in South Africa. Actually, it took place in Mozambique, where he'd actually lost his left arm and an eye, trying to suppress his intellectual freedom. It was then that we went on to help academics in the military, to help academics fleeing the military juntas in Chile, Argentina, and other conflict zones. Now, particularly in the Middle East and Africa, but really everywhere. And so it goes on that, in line with our founders' original image of helping anyone relieve from any country. Now, CARA's got a proud history of supporting many scientists, and I think it's also worth noting, particularly in the light of the political and social debate on immigration in the lead up to the elections, that we also recognise that those that we supported in the early days as migrants essentially have given great things to both science and learning in the UK. We have benefited enormously. 16 of those helped in our early years went on to win Nobel Prizes, of which 18 were also knighted. Many like Krebs, Chain, Bondi, Bourne, Perutz, Gutmann, and others contributed significantly to science, but there were also others, such as Pesner, Elton, Popper, and Gombrich, who were also leaders in their own fields. Now, CARA today. We're still guided by those founding aims to relieve suffering and defend science and learning. Unfortunately, there is a constant growing demand. People fleeing from Iran, Iraq, Zimbabwe, Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, the DRC, and many others, predominantly Syria. Some need more than just a friendly word of advice. They need practical and financial support for a period of sanctuary to allow them really to continue their work in safety. We are trying to help the best and brightest minds in those countries to come to the UK or another country to continue their valuable work so that one day that they can return and help the future development and rebuilding of that country or the region as a whole. CARA continues to be helped by 105 UK universities who offer a wide range of support. The situations and crises to which we are responding change from year to year, but the mission often remains the same. The UK programme helps academics that have already found their way to the UK who are looking to re-establish their careers here. Unfortunately, many of the academics that do find themselves on Britain's shores often find that their extensive experience and qualifications from their home country are not recognised by employers, so they have to go through a very lengthy process of re-qualification. We help that by providing them with grants, also covering living costs during that period. The aim for us is to use their skills in order to benefit the UK, particularly the higher education sector, but also allied fields like law and science, etc. The fellowship program is more about sort of sharp-end work, helping academics that are in Iraq and Syria at the moment predominantly to flee and find placements either in the UK or abroad, where again they can continue their work in safety. We're presently, I believe, supporting over 60 academics, many of which have families. We support their children and their wives as well. We have about 70 plus that are still looking for support, but often problems being is that we don't have resources in order to support them at the moment. CARA provides a range of advice to those that perhaps have not received funding, giving them information about the UK higher education system, benefits, immigration, and housing, etc. Like I mentioned earlier on about the inclusion of our second objective, which was looking predominantly at supporting institutions rather than supporting individuals. We set up a program in Zimbabwe in 2011 that was as a result of really the mass exodus of academics because of the political and economic situation that was going on there. We didn't want to go into the country and say this is what X, Y, and Z you need to do in order to get through this crisis, but rather through a number of consultations with academics in Zimbabwe and those in exile, we were able to identify which sectors were the most adversely affected by the exodus of academics and also the heavily politicized higher education system. They identified the health sciences were the most adversely affected. We then basically put steps in to allow those faculties to continue working. Many didn't have IT equipment, many didn't have the chemicals and reagents that they needed in order to continue their work. So CARA gave fellowships to a number of those faculties and departments in order for them to buy the materials that they needed. We also set up a virtual lecture hall, which was something very new for us. Essentially, it would help to fill in many of the gaps in the curriculum where some of the academics had left. It basically streamed in lectures from partner universities from across the globe on various subjects within the health sciences. It also had a sort of an active live debate section to it as well, where they can ask live questions to academics, say, in the University of Texas. That now, given that many of the academics are actually starting to return, has been fully handed over to the University of Zimbabwe, which is based in Harare, and they are continuing the project in a slightly different guise than we were using it initially. The Iraq program was set up in 2006 as a result of targeted a campaign of assassinations of academics, and that essentially had a wide-ranging program of support. Much of it was to help mitigate the loss of the intellectual capital in Iraq, so that once the situation improved, that they could return and help the rebuilding of the country. Of that initial cohort of academics that we supported in 2006, of about 90% went back and have helped Iraq develop today, essentially. But unfortunately, given that the rise of ISIS and sectarian violence in Iraq meant that of those first cohort, many of them are actually looking for support. There are also other research projects that were going on in addition to that, which had sort of very real benefits to Iraq and its people. The UK Universities Network. It has been clear since our inception, really, that the support of British universities has has allowed us to continue in the way that we do today. This commitment really sort of manifested itself in 2006 with the establishment of a UK Universities Network to bring institutions together, essentially to cooperate in defence of academic freedom, which is the value that really underpins CARA's work, but also to provide practical support to persecuted and threatened academics. Now we've got 105 UK universities. We receive fantastic support from those partner universities, many of which provide fee waivers, sometimes other support too in terms of accommodation, in-kind support, living costs, etc. Many of the academics within those institutions also provide valuable pro bono support on an individual level for programs like the Zimbabwe and Iraq program. And they're always a valuable source of information and ideas for CARA and the way that we move forward. It was also in 2012 that we were able to go to these universities and begin a new funding appeal. So we went to universities, all 105, to ask them to contribute to our running costs in order to allow ourselves to continue supporting fellow academics and their colleagues. We asked for a range between about £3,000 and £5,000, and we're pleased that about 71 of the 105 UK universities have donated. And CARA really could not have carried on its present form beyond 2012 without their support, so we're very grateful, and we're hoping to bring the rest on board, providing support to CARA as well. In conclusion, the demand. Unfortunately, there's no sign of let-up. Already working up what might be able to do for Syria, a regional program at the moment, possibly in Turkey. We're currently looking for funding, but also a number of ideas are being mooted in terms of a possible university in exile close to the Syrian border, but in Turkey. One of the many sort of ideas that we're thinking about at the moment in order to help individuals in the region. But obviously, the ongoing problem in the Middle East and North Africa has meant that we have to consider possible programs in Egypt, possibly Libya as well. So we're sort of keeping our finger on the pulse of what's going on there as well. Partnerships. I mean, it's really been increasingly clear to us that without those partnerships, CARA, like I said, would not be able to continue, and that we need to strengthen those links with our partners and universities. And our survival and success will ultimately depend on that strength. The amount of in-kind support we received in 2014 reached an all-time high, which again shows how dedicated British universities are to our work. We actually were able to get over £1 million in in-kind support. So that's where universities have actually decided to waive fees, international fees, which are often, as some of you may know, are incredibly expensive. And they basically made it very possible for us to support the amount of academics that we're helping today. And it's also, it's been a relationship that's been going on for over 80 years now. And it's good that the people at universities in the UK really understand what we do and why that matters. I mean, the next thing is really talking to you as the next generation of academics, scientists, and human rights defenders. I would really like to urge you to consider the importance of academic intellectual freedom. I think today in the UK we've become so accustomed with the idea of academic freedom that it's almost become natural law. However, in many other countries, the right to speak your mind, to teach what you wish at universities is often engenders friction and conflict, particularly with authorities. And it's really why academics and their fate is a matter of deep concern to not only those in universities but society as a whole. So that's all I really had to say. Our website is currently under development at the moment. It looks a little archaic, so you can go on. It's very informative. But if you wanted any more information or you have any questions, perhaps at the end, it might be easier if you can come up to me and ask me. Should I introduce?
Yes, do.
Yeah, well, great pleasure for me to introduce a CARA fellow, Dr. Mohammed Amin Mohammed, who was an associate professor at the College of Pharmacy in Damascus and is now doing very well at the University of Bath following CARA support. So, as you wish.
Thank you so much for the introduction and good evening everybody here. I'm so happy to talk to you as an example of the Syrian academic who have been supported and helped by CARA. I have been an academic since 2006 when I obtained a PhD degree in industrial biotechnology, specializing in the effect of molecular conformation on the surface properties and stability of the protein particle from the University of Bradford. During my study, I noticed that UK universities encourage the science seekers to, in all possible ways, to learn and to do creative research. And moreover, in UK, all the people are treated equally. This actually opposite to what I have to what I had experienced in Syria, my country, where few bad people had a huge power and support to enslave and torture the majority of the Syrians. This comparison was a strong temptation to stay in UK. However, I decided to be back to Syria, where I worked at University of Damascus as a lecturer, and I taught at different private universities. During my work in Damascus University, I established links with many international universities, mainly in UK and Sweden. These links have helped my department to publish many papers in international journals, and also enabled us to help our students to complete their postgraduate study at international universities. In 2010, I and Professor Abdul Ataya and his wife, Wafa Hamoud, started establishing the first private research center in Syria. I came UK in 2010 and early 2011 to buy some required equipment. And our team in that research developed many formulations for different pharmaceutical dosage forms. We were so optimistic and had nice vision about the future. However, at the end of 2011, Professor Abdul Ataya was arrested, and his wife, Professor Wafa Hamoud, fled to USA. Then I want to close my Facebook page, and then I want and enforced to leave my village. After that, I want badly to leave Syria. In 2013, I fled with my family, my wife Samar and our children, to Lebanon, where I tried to come UK. However, it was so difficult. So I decided to went Jordan, where I got an academic job at Isra University, but I couldn't get a chance to enhance my science as I want. At the end of 2013, a student of mine sent me an email, told me about CARA, and she informed me that CARA helps Syrian academics to get a position at UK universities. Immediately, I emailed CARA, specifically Mr. Zaid Al-Bayati, and his positive reply was quick. Then I met Kate Robinson in Jordan. Kate came to Jordan to meet Syrian academics and hear from them face to face their suffering and concern. During that meeting, Kate and Nadia from CARA brought all the thoughts and concerns of Syrian academics who attend this meeting. One of the ideas was to help us to build second generation of scientists being able to rebuild the destroyed Syria. CARA not only respect us by hearing our concern, but also has done the best to help us. In 2014, in the middle of 2014, CARA and University of Bath awarded me a fellowship, and many other of Syrian academics were awarded a fellowship by CARA at different UK universities. And also, CARA started it is offered to establish our next generation of scientists. For example, 3 of my students have been sponsored by CARA to complete their study in UK. And also CARA are working to bring more postgraduate Syrian students for study. Moreover, CARA held a Syrian academic outside UK. A friend of mine who is an academic in Turkey has received a financial support from CARA. This financial support was essential to him to survive. I can conclude that CARA helped us step by step, starting from finding a position at a suitable department, applying for a visa, booking a ticket to come here, arranging transportation to get previously booked accommodation. Since I was a child, I wanted to be a scientist because I believe that the most important things in the human beings are the thoughts and the ideas. And the useful science would keep us alive in worldly life after death. And also science help us to see the beauty of the universe and the reality of our pure essence. Moreover, during worldly life, scientists enjoy watching the scientific progress of them, their colleagues, and their students. I would acknowledge that CARA helped me to maintain this positive attitude toward the science. In Bath, I start doing some research, and I have found interesting results in the field of surface-free energy and protein particles. However, I'm anticipating, like any Syria, a good news which can relieve our suffering and hide the picture of innocent victim from our eyes. Usually and always, I see that my people who were killed. Sometimes I feel that the Syrians have been killed and tortured by the whole world. However, the support of CARA and the support of some kind of organization over the world help us to overcome this bad and wrong feeling. Finally, I would thank Zed, Kate, Alessandra, Steven from CARA, and also Bath, University of Bath, and my friend Dr. Ian Blackbro for their support and help to me to be here in UK. And also thank you for your listening in this tiring day, at the end of this tiring day.
Thank you so much. Thank you both very much for fascinating talks and highlighting the importance of the work of CARA internationally to support scientists such as Dr.